and welcome back to Touch the Fire Twice. I'm Joshua, and I'm here today to do an in-depth sniff and comparison review of the recently launched Bath & Body Works My Bath & Body Works Rewards member exclusive, online exclusive candles of pumpkin nut butter as well as pumpkin donut shop. But before we dig into those, if you're new to Touch the Fire Twice, welcome. My mission here is to share my love and passion for fine home fragrance as an enthusiast, an educator, a reviewer, to inspire you to increase your own fragrance knowledge and understanding, ultimately enhancing the scent memories that you create. If you want to learn more about what I do, why I do it, and how I do it, you can check out my website at TouchTheFireTwice.com, and please do give me a follow over on Instagram, also at TouchTheFireTwice. But for now, let's dig into these two limited edition member only drops, right? So first we'll talk about a bit of the aesthetics, the branding, the candles, what I thought they'd be, what I think they might be similar to, talk a little bit about performance, the usual. So these were launched the first week of September 2024 as a limited drop, limited edition, online only, rewards member only, exclusive. Frankly, it's not that exclusive, anyone can join, but you had to be logged in apparently to purchase these candles. They were on a decent sale price. I ended up purchasing 4 candles so that I could hit the $50 mark to get free shipping, because I hate to pay the $7 or $10 shipping at Bath & Body Works. It usually makes you lose out on any savings from a sale or coupon you've applied. But with this, it was spend $50, get free shipping, so that worked. I purchased 2 of the pumpkin nut butters, 1 of the pumpkin donut shop, and then also apple crisp, which I will do a review on at another time. Now, the idea of these drops, I think it generally is fun, though I think that, it's very random, and I think they could have done a better job. Just 2 true vaults. Pumpkin Donut Shop being a vault release, that came out, at least in the past year or couple of years. It's not old, and it's come back multiple times, so to call that vault, And then Pumpkin Nut Butter, new. They should have done roasted pumpkin butter from way back when. It has been out for many years if they wanted to do something in this realm. And in general, if they're going to do limited edition, I'd like them both to be from the vault, so to speak, because if it's something new, then just throw it into the regular collections and see what happens. Now, as far as the branding, the sort of aesthetic, it works. It's kind of cute. It's got a little bit of shimmer to it. It's kind of reminiscent of some of the other limited edition drops where they kind of have that little label on there with a check mark and then just a couple of patterns. Somewhat simple, fine. I don't love it, don't hate it. I think it totally is acceptable. I do like the glossy black lids. That's something a little bit different, and they're still priced at the standard $26.95. Now, Pumpkin Donut Shop, most people do know this one. Notes are glazed donuts, warm pumpkin spices, sprinkled with powdered sugar. Now that's a little weird because those are 3 notes, I suppose, but it's worded more like a sentence or as if it's one thing. But ultimately, it does not matter. I don't think I've ever reviewed this one. I typically don't buy this one when it comes out because for me, it just smells a little bit either too yeasty, or when I think of donuts or cinnamon sugar donuts, I think of the classic cinnamon sugar donut, which now comes out as cinnamon spice vanilla. This one, Beatrice has joined us. She'd like to give her impression here. What do you think, Bea? Thoughts? Let's get you down here. Beatrice is here to do her review as well. I don't know if she approves. To me, this one, it sort of smells like, it's a bit of the cinnamon sugar donut. So it's got that aspect to it, but then it also has some of kind of almost like that, either a cream cheesy sort of sour note similar to the pumpkin cinnamon bun, mixed with a little bit of the yeastiness from, what was that donut, Campfire Donut, that was out for a couple of years in a row in like 2014 to 17 or something like that. I don't remember if this is one of those pumpkin ones that was like people are obsessed and love it. I think maybe it was, because it came out for a couple of years and hasn't, maybe since 2020, not certain, because again, I don't know if I've ever purchased it, maybe once, if ever. So I haven't burned it yet either. I have burned the pumpkin nut butter because I did want to see what that was like. I assume I'll probably burn this. It's just, when you have pumpkin s'mores and pumpkin cinnamon bun and cinnamon sugar vanilla, aka cinnamon sugar donuts, this one just kind of, for me, feels unnecessary. It's so similar to those in different ways, but not superior to them, that leave it in the vault for me. Or replace one of the existing ones with this if the general opinion is that this is better than the others. It's fine. There's a reason why I only got 1. But then moving over to pumpkin nut butter, I was intrigued primarily based on name alone. At first I thought, could it be roasted pumpkin butter, which was a test scent that failed in 2013, but then did come out, I believe, wide once the next year or year after, and then probably has not been seen since then. It was a really nice toasty, roasty scent in the realm of pumpkin peanut brittle, a bit more nutty. I know a lot of folks have said peanut butter. I didn't get straight peanut butter on that, but certainly in that same sort of family. And so I was hopeful that maybe this would be that coming back. And as you can see in the label here, we do have new. So that was like, okay, well, they'd call it new if it was the same fragrance with a new name. Maybe it would be roasted pumpkin butter, hopefully. And there's a little almond on here. So, okay, we've got, kind of the almonds in that. Though I believe roasted pumpkin butter, what was so interesting was it had pumpkin seeds in it versus just, peanut butter or nuts. But we know that that fragrance is very interchangeable when it comes to marketing. Notes on this one: pumpkin spice, creamy nut butter, and sprinkle of cinnamon. Getting my nose on it. Definitely not roasted pumpkin butter, which not shocking, but a little disappointing. It is nice. I actually have 4 candles to compare it to and one that I don't have that I'm still gonna compare it to. This is well, first of all, it's not particularly nutty or toasty or roasty or warm the way that candles and fragrances that have either pumpkin seeds or peanut butter or almonds in it are. So it seems to be missing that aspect. And funny, they don't even say creamy nut butter. Okay, cashew, peanut, almond, what? Maybe none at all, frankly. There's a good hit of sort of a fresh pumpkin, which is not even listed here because they just say pumpkin spice. Usually they say pumpkin and you just get the spices. There is some spice in here, but there actually is sort of that fresh pumpkin as well, reminiscent of your pumpkin carving, heirloom pumpkin patch. And there is a very, very sweet, creamy, almost milky layer on that. Sweet, sweet, sweet milk on there, almost like frankly, a steamed milk or something like that. With a heavy hit of spices, a little bit of nutmeg in there perhaps, a good bit of borderline red hot cinnamon, so not quite your soft floral Ceylon cinnamon, not full on red hot candy Vietnamese cinnamon, somewhere right in the middle on the border, leaning towards the candied hot cinnamon. And that's kind of it. Again, similar to what my feelings are on Pumpkin Donut Shop, this feels a bit reductive, like not truly necessary and not better than a couple of candles that I think it's similar to. So whatever, it's fine. I did burn it. It had a solid strength, throw and projection, and decent performance. It's wild how vastly different it smells between unlit and burned once. It really just smells a little bit more roasted and toasty from the burning wicks that are in here versus the sweet brightness, the spices that you get more in the unburned candle, though they did show up when burning, and maybe it was slightly like burning. It wasn't quite as roasty as this one now smells in the container, and was not quite as spiced and top note sweet as it smells fresh on cold, kind of somewhere between the two, which frankly makes sense. Now comparing it, what I want to compare it to, obviously the big common one here is pumpkin carving. As I said, notes of carved pumpkin, spiced pumpkin seeds, and smooth brown sugar. They are very similar. I would say there's probably like 40 to 50% of this really matches the pumpkin note, that fresh pumpkin flesh from pumpkin carving. Pumpkin carving, though, has a bit more of that, let's call it like kind of waxy, almost crayon, but not in a bad way, but kind of waxy note to it. There is less of a spice. There's really not much of a cinnamon at all in the pumpkin carving, like a hint of clove versus a sweet spicy cinnamon that you get in the pumpkin nut butter. I'd almost say this one is a bit nuttier than the pumpkin nut butter, in fact, because this one leans more into the spices. But quite similar as far as the pumpkin in there, which I'm not mad at, because I do love pumpkin carving, all-time favorite pumpkin candle. But comparing it to a couple of others here, I just figured it's worth comparing it to roasted sesame, aka pumpkin peanut brittle. Fight me on it, it's the same scent. Now, this is actually sweeter in a different way. There's some similarities here. This has much more of that savory umami sesame / nut butter fragrance. Sweeter from, what did they say, maple, I think, or something? Yeah, they say maple is in here. There's much more sweetness from a true sugar versus the sweetness in here is just from the cinnamon spice. And frankly, now looking at this, pumpkin spice and sprinkle of cinnamon. Well, isn't pumpkin spice inclusive of cinnamon? So really they're just telling us spices and nut butter. But this is richer, deeper, sweeter, nuttier, roastier, toastier, by far. So there's a softness that they have a match, but it's not really even a sister scent, I would say, to your roasted sesame / pumpkin peanut brittle. Then I wanted to I put my nose on pumpkin clove and said, okay, there's certainly the pumpkin clove is heavily cloved. This is, I'd say almost no clove. I would say this is like Vietnamese cinnamon and some nutmeg, like a soft round nutmeg. Pumpkin clove, heavy on the clove. The pumpkin though in here, I don't know, you really get more spices than pumpkin in this one. And actually just noticed they do mention on pumpkin clove buds, ground cinnamon, and a pinch of nutmeg. So I think maybe the nutmeg is what I'm getting between the two. But this is obviously, as we know, heavily cloved. And it leads me to two more candles. One actually is a Homeworks candle, Toasted Vanilla Pumpkin. This is the 3 wicks, I think now discontinued style with the wood lid of the 3 wicks. This was from 2022. Notes of vanilla cream, spiced pumpkin, cardamom, and tonka bean. This was originally launched as amaretto pumpkin. There's a really heavy hit of almond in there thanks to the amaretto, that almond flavored Italian liqueur. You can see my review actually here on that Homeworks candle if you'd like to watch that. This was back when I still purchased Homeworks, which I think as most folks know, I have not purchased Homeworks for about 2 years at this point, but I do love this candle. It's funny, some years you go in and out and you love a scent and you don't love it the next year and then you will rediscover it later on if you have it in your stash or in your vault. This one leans a bit sweet for me right now, but there's some similarities between these two. Pumpkin nut butter is closer to Toasted Vanilla Pumpkin than the Bath & Body Works candles that I have compared. Certainly, because it does have that milky, creamy, let's call it borderline like chai latte, masala chai latte, meaning spiced tea with milk. That you get from this, thanks to the cardamom, the tonka bean, the spices, the vanilla cream, the unlisted amaretto, of course, is in here as well. And this has a similar blend of creaminess. I get more creamy milk than creamy nut butter in this though. They're quite similar. There's a sharp sweetness to the pumpkin nut butter. Again, probably that Vietnamese, more red hot style cinnamon, which you don't get in the Toasted Vanilla Pumpkin. But the spices, the creaminess, the nuttiness in the background, very similar. I would say they're, for me, like 75% similar. But if you love the intense kind of amaretto side from this, you won't necessarily get that from pumpkin nut butter. It's gonna lean much more into the next two candles that I don't have in front of me that I want to say that this is like, which is, I'd say honorable mention to Creamy Nutmeg from back in the day, which used to come out during the Candle Day collection that always had cranberry pear Bellini, Mary Mistletoe, mint chocolate, chestnut and clove, aka Winter Cabin, and Creamy Nutmeg. I love Creamy Nutmeg. That was a Slacken & Co. like 2008, 9, 10, 11 era fragrance, and it was a very creamy, it wasn't overly nutmeg, it wasn't spicy the way that most spiced candles are spicy. It had the nutmeg, it had a lot of cream, maybe a little bit of a tiny bit of a caramel in the base, but a really nice fragrance that was a soft, almost borderline kind of creamy vanilla layering scent with a good dose of nutmeg on top of the creaminess. And I get some similarities to this, like that spiced, soft creaminess. But then that made me then lead to, I don't have the candle here in front of me, but I think this is quite similar to White Pumpkin. Now, we do have an Autumn Chai, which frankly, I don't think is super spicy, not spicy enough, not creamy and sweet enough, like I would expect a Bath & Body Works chai candle to be, as we've seen sometimes in the past. I actually think that White Pumpkin kind of fills that gap for me because it is a very sweet, creamy spice with a mixture of spices, not just your traditional pumpkin spices, but I think maybe a little bit more of nutmeg or allspice or maybe even a dash of cardamom in there, which adds to the masala chai aspect of it, but still a heavy dose of sugar and creamy frothed warm milk. I think it's a really nice candle, very sweet, but for some reason it's not a ooey gooey caramel sweetness, so because it's subdued by the milkiness, I can handle that more. I haven't purchased it this year. I know I have some in my vault that I could grab one if I can find it. But I think that this is probably in that same family where you got a sweet creaminess. Again, I lean this to be milky. They're calling it nut butter. Probably a little bit of it all is true. They could call this something else, certainly. This is one of those fragrances where, like most fragrances, they could call it something else, list the notes a little bit differently, and we would be led to believe that it is whatever they say it is. Versus some candles are very authentic, true to life, and you're like, well, this is quite obviously XYZ. This is one that could be a bit of a shapeshifter, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But I do think it is closer to White Pumpkin as well as Toasted Vanilla Pumpkin than any others that we've seen. So that long dissertation to say, I don't mind that I have two. I'll certainly keep this one and probably burn through it. Not a favorite, but it's within the wheelhouse of autumnal scents that I do enjoy a burn through. Maybe I'll gift this one out. I don't necessarily need this. I'm gonna have to store it another year. But I do appreciate that they're doing these things. They're kind of fun, they're kind of different. I wish we had some true vault fragrances. They know that they've got a good vault of fragrances. They could certainly watch some YouTubers to hear what we want to see come back. And every once in a while we get that. We got Blueberry Pumpkin Patch last year, which was truly from the vaults and a hit. Loved it. Of course, didn't come back again in 2024, but they will continue to surprise us every once in a while. So I'm open to see what they come up with the next time they do a limited drop when it comes for new or vault. I'd love to hear what you think of this, of either of these candles. Is Pumpkin Donut Shop the big hit that everyone's so excited to see back here? Have you smelled pumpkin nut butter? What do you think? Agree with me, disagree with me, have questions? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and until next time, take care.